Call the meeting to order.
Then what did you use Friday? Was that a boom?
Yes.
This? That was a boom.
That was a vote.
No microphone. That's what you use, right?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. When I call your name, please state your attendance. Amy McSweeney. Amy's absent. Susan Lorcella.
Here.
Sharon Falkowitz.
Here.
Diana Miller.
Here.
Christine Patterson.
Here.
Chad Henderson.
Here.
Jerry Weiss.
Here.
On behalf of management, Corey Harris and Michael Kaneberg are in attendance. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the open meeting minutes of May 13th?
I'll make a motion to accept the open meeting minutes from May 13th, 2025.
Second? I second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to be very brief on this. First, I would like to remind everybody that we have an election ongoing right now for the board. In addition to the primary election that's in the other room, but please, if you have not yet sent in your ballot, send it in. I realize that it's 3 incumbents who are up for re-election and nobody filed to run independently, but there's room for write-in votes. We are required to hold the election regardless. If we do not get 25% people turning in their ballots, the law will require us to do it again. That will cost 5 figures. So please send the ballots in. You can write none of the above, write in Mickey Mouse, but send in the ballot, please. That's very important. The other thing that I would like to let you know is that we had a reorganization meeting to set up our officers for the coming year. We have elected Chad to be our president going forward. Amy is vice president, Sue is secretary, and Diana continuing to do her sterling job as treasurer. So thank you to everybody. And now I will hand the gavel over to our new president.
But before you do that, congratulations, Chad.
Thank
On
you.
behalf of all of us, Christine, thank you so much.
Oh, my God.
For all
Yes,
you've done.
thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
You're not allowed to miss it, right?
I just want to add to that. I want to thank you for getting us organized and through a difficult first couple of weeks when we got the board situated. There was some disagreement, if you will, and we worked through it all. And I think at the end of the day, it's all turned out to be a whole lot better in the end for the community. So I'm really very thankful for what you brought to the table, and I hope I'll be able to continue to make things work for us.
I have no doubt.
Thank you. Okay, so with that being said, we've had a good month since the last meeting. As you all probably know, we have Tunes on Tuesday now, every other Tuesday, out in the back. We have music. It was really well received the last Tuesday. We had well over 200 people there. It was great. Susan, thank you for the idea. It was really, really a good one. And I think that it's going to continue to make our summers a lot of fun. Just a reminder, July is committee reorganization month. So we will be requesting that people who are interested in joining committees submit applications for the committees of their choice. July will be, after the new board is formulated, be determining what the various committees will be made up of. So please submit your applications if you're interested, and we'd love to see you engaged and involved in what's going on. Diana will be speaking to this in more detail, but just as a high level, we're halfway through the year, and so far, we're actually exceeding our budget expectations by a little bit. We're actually in a little bit better financial condition than we expected to be. We've got a lot of work that's been scheduled, roofs, sidewalks, driveways, so there's going to be a lot of activity going on over the course of the next 3 or 4 months to try and get this work done before fall or winter actually comes along. And hopefully that's all going to be taken care of during the summertime, and we'll be able to continue to make progress on repairing and maintaining your homes. So with that, I'd like to turn over right now to Mike to talk about the election update. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. As you've heard, we are in the middle of our annual HOA election. There are 3 seats. There are 3 incumbents running. As you may have read in my recent neighbor post, there were 4 applications originally received. However, during the vetting process, the 4th candidate decided not to proceed with his candidacy. So he was removed from the process, and the ballot was issued with the 3 incumbents. To date, there have been just shy of 150 ballots cast online. About 9% or so of the community does not count paper ballots being mailed in or being dropped here. The vendor will receive this box prior to the completion of the election, and they will go through all the ballots and provide us with the notification of quorum. That's really the single most significant requirement, is notification of quorum, because your results are already sitting here. You actually know your outcome, provided we achieve quorum. In the event we don't, as you heard Christine mention, you're guided by the law, which says you are to attempt in earnest to conduct an election that does achieve quorum. So please, we would like to get it right the first time. So be so kind as to cast a ballot. You need not put anything on other than put it in the mail and return it. Or go online and vote. We'd love you to vote in support of your trustees, but more important that you just vote, period. That's it. It'll be wrapping up July 8th. We expect to notify the community of quorum or the need to extend the election on or about July 8th. So that's it. If there are any questions election related, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And now we'll get a financial report from Diana.
Thank you, Chad. So I want to get, before I start, there were Paul had a couple of questions last month that were not answered at the meeting. So I want to just go over those. There were only 3 of them. The $452,900 credit to account 91261, the HVAC repair, was, as stated, the reversal of the audit adjusting entry that recognized the expense in 2024. Account 21150, the township accounts receivable. You asked what the $12,167,000 was that it was changing by each month. 3,917 of that is snow reimbursement. 4,167 is street lighting, and $4,083 is trash reimbursement. Those 3 equal up to the 12,167. The other account, 68512, that was labeled township rebate, that has been moved to 68546, and it is township road repair reimbursement. So those were the open items from Paul's questions last month.
Diana, excuse me, may I, excuse me, I'm sorry, may I interject real quick?
Sure.
Since the last meeting, 2 subsequent events, the township has sent its purchase orders for the municipal reimbursements for 2 of the items. One is for $48,000, the other is for $27,000. I'm expecting additional purchase orders, but I know that the question as far as where the reimbursables were. Yes, so those 2 have been processed by the township since our last meeting, and I expect to have an update certainly by the next meeting. But yes, we've submitted those purchase orders back to the township.
But we have not received the checks yet.
No, ma'am. The process, They send us the purchase order. After we send them all the receipts, they send us a purchase order. One of the trustees, in this case it was Christina that signed it. I believe you signed the second one for me. We then send that back as authorized. In other words, we acknowledge the reimbursement, and then they actually will issue us a check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now moving on to our April 30th financials. Our operating cash is at $1,364,000. Discretionary cash is at $450,000. And our reserve cash is at $1,594,000, giving us a total of $3,409,000. Accounts receivable is at $116,000. The over 90 days is at $63,000, so that number is continuing to drop. As of April 30th, we had 29 closings. We're still down from last year. I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the higher interest rates. We had 11 resales in April. Moving on to our income statement, there's not a lot to go over on this. We're pretty close to on budget in a lot of items. In our grounds maintenance, we're over budget by $329,000. $301,000 of that is the snow, which we knew we would be facing, and we'll have to make up someplace along the lines. Our building maintenance, that is well under budget, but we haven't started doing concrete repairs, elevator repairs. There's a lot of things that we haven't started yet that we will be seeing these numbers changing over the next couple of months. So our total operating expense against our budget so far is, we're on the plus side for $123,000. Moving on to our reserves. Again, it's hard. You can see the numbers there. Everybody who's downloaded the financial statements that we gave out. We are well under budget on this, but again, a lot of the work is starting to go on now. We've given out 62 work orders for roofs for a total of $1,041,000, but yet our roofing, we're only showing $453,000. So that's all that's been completed, but we've got another $600,000 that will be hitting our books in the next probably month or so. Other than that, there was nothing else I needed to report on. If anybody has questions at the end, we'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. I'd like to get next the management report from Mike.
Sure, thank you. Just a couple of quick items, some are retreads from previous meetings. The maintenance building is now open for walk-in service from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. Donna Richards is there in an administrative role. She's there to receive work orders or to provide any follow-up on any open work orders. That is available to you now as a walk-in service. Additionally, you can call, email Donna, or call our 800 number, or certainly you can enter your own work orders in the Connect resident portal for those of you interested in doing so. As for work orders, we saw an explosive amount of work orders in April and May. We saw 295 work orders created in May. We saw 380 work orders closed in that same month. These numbers are up almost 30% from the prior month. We expect this time of year is when all the seasonal stuff kind of comes in, and it comes in very quickly. We actually expect June to look very much like this because of the rain. The rain is impacting our ability to get some of our normal seasonal work done. So there is some pent-up demand. There are some additional requests for service. So we do expect similar patterns in June. And management is looking towards the second half of this year is how to improve overall the intake and administration of maintenance work orders. This is a critical item that we have yet to fully get our arms around since we took over here a few years ago as far as the day-to-day management. We recognize this is an area that still requires improvement, and it is sensitive because it is tied to people's homes, and we acknowledge this. So until we can come up with a more effective way to service those needs as they're coming in, the best thing we can do is provide this reporting to you. Next up is just a reminder that the dry event at fireplace chimney cleaning certificate requirement is ongoing through September 30th. These are coming in, however, feels like they're a little slower than the velocity with which we'd be seeing them. So we're optimistic that the summer will bring more activity. We'll send some reminders out to people. For those of you that are not aware, Apex Dry Event, this is not an endorsement nor a commercial, but they did offer this community a $79 rate if you were to go with them. That was in the notice we put out, and I'll repost that for anybody who's still in need of getting this done. Lastly, just a public service announcement as a reminder. This is the season on the landscape contract where there is no mulch placed in the flower beds. You're certainly free to do so at your own discretion, but that the landscape company retained by the HOA will not be doing so this year. That's all I have. If there are any questions or concerns for maintenance, please see me at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Now we're going to get committee updates from the board members who are liaison to the committees. Susan, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Just a few things I want to go over. One is, like I always do every time, is thank the Voice Committee. They're doing a wonderful job with the news magazine and keeping us all informed. Paula wanted me to remind everyone, if you want something in the paper, it has to be in by the 1st of the prior month. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes you get things and it's too late to get it into the issue. Also, if for some reason you don't receive your magazine in the mail, like you're supposed to, let the concierge know. We're going to track those and make sure that we have your address on the run. So, okay, a few more things. This Saturday we have come on out and support our vets. We'll have a tribute to the flag on Flag Day at 12 noon right here on the terrace. And also, again, Chad, thank you for Tunes on the Terrace. We do have another one coming up next Tuesday. It's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30 this time. It's going to be a little hour earlier because we have candidates night right after that. So we had to move it up just a little bit earlier. But come on out. I'll make sure we have enough chairs this time. I know it was a little bit of a problem and we weren't expecting that many people, so that was great. Also, all the shows are doing really well. The Real Diamond Show, there's just a few tickets left. That's for this Saturday. All the other shows, we only have like about 50 tickets left. So if you're interested in getting a ticket, please come down to see the concierge. The Jersey Tenors, which is on August 9th, just went on sale. The trip to Broadway sold out in 45 minutes. So John's looking into a second bus. Once we have more details on that, we will share those. Hopefully you'll hear something about that quickly. We're trying to get, because we had so many people on the wait list. So there's another Broadway trip coming up in the fall, and John will get information out on that as soon as possible. And we're also planning a trip to AC on Christmas Day. More details to come on that as well. That's it for me.
Thank you, Susan. Sharon, you don't have this
Not
one?
tonight, no.
Okay. Diana?
Yes. I just want to let everybody know, the Building and Grounds Committee met last Thursday, and they are starting to tour the community, so you will see them wandering around up and down the streets, around homes. They'll be doing their reports and turning things into management and maintenance. So just don't get nervous when you see another resident walking around your house. Building and Grounds Committee has started this past week. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Jerry, you have something that you want to share?
Actually, no.
Okay. Then, without further ado, I'd like to call for an adjournment of the formal meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before I do that, just, it was mentioned briefly, but next Tuesday night is Candidates Night. So please, we're going to be on WCOC, we're going to be in the Regency. Please join us. Put in your questions for us in advance. Submit questions. Will be posted by a moderator who'll be reading out the questions so that we can answer them for you. and please participate. So, thank you. Now,
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I second the
thank
motion.
you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
World record.
Yes. So, we will now take questions from our residents, and whoever would like to start us off, please provide your name and address.
Thanks, Chad. John Watts, 6 James Buchanan Drive. I've got a question on the long-term plan for our capital reserve. What kind of projection we're looking at putting out to the community, at least orally or loosely, for our fiscal health, the projection out more than a 6 or 12-month period. I know God's got a sense of humor because we keep trying to make plans, and he wants us to make plans, but then he'll tell us what they're going to be as it occurs. But having a plan is something that's recommended, and I'm not sure that the ideal scenario that was done by Falcon Group is something we're doing. I know I've chatted with Mike a number of times on it, and there's substantial adjustments that the board has decided they want to accomplish. I think would be helpful to at least hear where we stand from the $1.5 million where we're sitting right now, and it would be helpful. This is the 4th year I'm asking. The first year was to 2 board members, and this is my 3rd time in public asking, and we get little bits and pieces, but it would be real nice to hear that $1.7 million is on its way back to the $7 million that we had, or that there's adjustments being made. So in line with that, I'd like to ask just one specific question, which is that fair for the community to expect to hear something on an overview basis with, here's our game plan?
If I may, yeah, sure. John's agreed. It's a very good question. And if I haven't been more forward in articulating this, I will make a point to draft a memo, send it to the board for review, and we'll release it to the community. So you have something time-stamped and, current time and where we're looking to go. So you referenced the Falcon report, very, very critical to this. We deliberately had them start with our fiscal year for 2025 this year, knowing that they had identified more items than we're funding for. The biggest thing there is the roads. They're calling for a bunch of road replacements, which is not feasible. It's just not feasible at this time, not without a substantial special assessment to this community. It's not tenable. The board's never suggested it nor considered it. So instead, we came up with a plan to extend what remaining life is left in the roadways through a crack filling and seal coating initiative starting this year, starting actually in 2 weeks. You'll start to see this happen in 4 of the sections in the community. That'll proceed for the next 2 years. 26 is going to be very similar, and by 27 we start to turn a financial corner. It's important to note this because in 28 we'll ask Falcon to issue us a paper update. At that point, 2 things happen. One, we've caught up with some of this backlog of capital replacement or improvement items. Secondly, we've continued to bolster the reserve accounts. More importantly, we're coming up with a plan that by the year 2028 in that reserve study, the obligation from the reserve account drops dramatically. By reissuing that at that time, they'll be able to reforecast what's left remaining. We do anticipate the HOA's financial obligation to fund the reserve account to diminish, but not our actual funding. We expect that to continue to increase. Couple that with some of our bigger contracts that we're looking at in ways to not necessarily modify the agreement, not necessarily restrict or reduce services. But we believe that there are other vendors that are out there that can provide equal services to what you're getting for perhaps a more competitive rate. So there are 257 or 275, I may have the numbers backwards, line items that are part of the reserve study. It's one of the largest reserve study line items of any HOA in New Jersey. And those aren't my words, those are the engineers' report back to us. So it is a substantial amount of responsibility. I cannot speak to prior balances. I wasn't here. I've heard anywhere from $5 to $7 million at different, I can't speak to that other than to tell you that from what I've observed, I don't see in the rearview mirror, mind you, looking backwards at some of the items that were done in the years past, I don't see any evidence of malfeasance, to be frank. I think that there were a couple of years where perhaps some capital projects were taken on off schedule from the reserve study, and perhaps work that was supposed to have been done during those years wasn't. So when that work came due, the funds maybe weren't there. But I think that the trustees at that time were acting on the best information that they were being given or being provided to them. It's hard to quarterback in the rearview mirror, and I don't mean to sideline your statement, but I can only comment on when we arrived and what we're doing to move forward. So we recognize that the reserve account balance was diminishing, and the work requirement obligation was increasing. So we used 2024 as a very transformative year where we did overspend on the reserve account, but we made up almost 3 years of backlog of work. It's not a sustainable plan, so we don't intend to do that. This year, rather, what you will see are real guardrails put on every one of our GL line items, specifically on the reserve stuff as well. And you'll see we will leave surpluses in each, because you don't grow the fund unless you do that. And this is all in an attempt to build your financial funds without having to consider special assessment or further decline services. Not an easy undertaking with a community of this scale. The only upside I can say is smaller scale communities, it's even harder. Generally they have to assess because they don't have the volume of unit owners to help. You have a large community here with 1,757 dues paying unit owners, and you're able to, it gives you a lot of purchase power, it gives you a lot of financial responsibility and obligation to the community as well. But it does give us a chance to try and figure out how to best generate funds, manage expenses, and move forward that is suitable for, you try and get 100%. If anybody can, I'm happy to sign up on your team, but we try and get as close to that as we can. I'd be happy to talk with you further on this, but more importantly, I think it's appropriate that I management draft a memo, get it to the board, and let the trustees and management kind of align on the message, and let's get something out to the community that you can rely on, and certainly question us on in the future as well to make sure we're staying honest to the test.
Would be appreciated.
My pleasure, sir.
One comment with the amount of money that was going, the outflow that was occurring, some of it as you were getting here. One of the things that you've done that's been very good is the roof guarantees that are occurring that weren't occurring, and the skylight items. So again, there's an item where there was a lot of inefficiency, so putting that efficiency in is much appreciated. The HVAC that was done, 400-something thousand, and we've got, and one item I noticed is, because I thought it was HVAC, it says repairs and something. Repairs typically wouldn't go into a reserve category.
So I don't want to cut you off. Yeah, finish that,
So
please.
then I noticed every single item in the reserve listing, or if not all of them, most of them have the word repair. That probably should be eliminated, but what's the 250 that we're now getting ready to do this year in HVAC?
We're not, short answer. So
Good.
because the project was running, it started originally in 23, 24 into 25, we had to accommodate budgetary amounts, although there'll be no spend on the replacement work for the HVAC this year. And for anybody who wants to know, it's in this room right here. You can see that funky tube.
Yep.
Go on and enjoy.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, John.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Nancy. Can't see you.
Hi.
I'm Nancy Redwood, 4A, Eden Allen. I do have a question about the voting, but I want to
It may not be
Talking
on.
to the mic.
I mean, I was talking loud enough, it probably didn't matter, but
Think testing, Nancy.
Testing. No,
No.
it's not. I didn't think it was.
I can't talk as loud as me. Thank you, Corey. I do have a question about voting, but I want to follow up on something Diana had just said. The Building and Grounds Committee had just met and they're going to start their inspections. I've gotten calls over the weekend from several people on the Building and Grounds. They were concerned with what the new mission statement is. So has the mission statement changed in what they're being asked to do?
Yes.
Okay, so if they're being asked to identify for management and the board if a homeowner has a bird feeder, or if they have the wrong color rocks in their garden bed, you're basically asking a committee to report on their neighbors that they're having a violation. And these people are telling me, and I'm not part of it, I'm just telling you, that they're not comfortable with doing that. And to have a neighbor go on to someone else's personal property, be it their property or around their house, to look for maintenance items like a clogged gutter or a sidewalk that needs to be repaired is one thing. To have a neighbor go on another neighbor's property to report that they are violating a rule is something entirely different.
Okay, thank you.
Well, is that going to be?
Well, we'll take it under your advisement.
I think the community needs to be notified if that's how you're going to approach it, because that's not something that people are expecting. My question has to do with the voting, and I did email Mike over the weekend. When I first got the ballot, and you have the instruction sheet, and on the back of the instruction sheet is the ballot itself, that takes away the anonymous vote because the person's name and address is on one side of the piece of paper.
I ripped it.
Mike's instruction was I could tear off the top third of the page. That doesn't solve the fact. It is not legal to have a vote where it's not anonymous.
So, I don't know. Am I- So there's a few things here. Number one, the ballots are not coming to the HOA, they're going to a third-party vendor. That provides the anonymity. The idea that a ballot is to be sent anonymously, it cannot stay anonymous. No ballot can stay anonymous. You need to identify if the unit owner is in good standing or not. And that's the task of the election vendor. So the election vendor knows exactly who's voting. Their control number on the bottom of the ballot identifies your name and address to the vendor. It makes no difference to them that the ballot has the name and address on the rear of the document. We don't get those documents. We don't see those documents, and we don't handle those documents. The election vendor does. So it qualifies, it's a valid ballot under Radburn regulations, so says council.
Well, in the past, we used the double envelope process, which is what Radburn recommends. So when you put that ballot into the smaller envelope, used to be the yellow envelope, had no name on it, and it was put inside another envelope that had the code on it. So the company would scan the code, identify that this house had voted. They would not open that yellow envelope until it came to be voting time. So that kept it anonymous. It didn't, what you're saying isn't true, because by keeping that separate envelope, it was totally anonymous because there was no name on it. Now there's the name on it.
That was that vendor's choice, number one. Number two, this is a valid ballot. That's all I can tell you. I can't speak to whether another company did it differently or...
It's not a question of a company, it's a question of what Radburn requires. And I
Radburn
don't
requires a
think
ballot
it
to be
does.
sent anonymously, and the
Yes.
envelope that they provided you is an anonymous envelope.
But the ballot itself has a person's name and address on it.
Again, I checked this with council. You're free to do your own legal research, but council has authorized the use of the ballot. It's not an invalid ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Teichman, 9 John Adams Court. I want to thank you for putting up the railing that I was requesting for 2 years. I know it hasn't been much swimming yet, the weather hasn't been for us, but the 1 or 2 times I was at the pool, I saw people using it, and they seem to be heading right to that railing rather than the single one that's left. So thank you. I think it's going to make our pool a much safer and easier place for people to get into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Frank Maffa, 6 Ingram Drive. I have a few questions on the financials, and I guess Diana is going to be on the hook for these things. But anyway, we started out with the insurance expense account, which is 77,515. It has a favorable variance of $75,000, more or less. And could you explain to me how we get a favorable variance on this? Because it seems like, we knew our insurance expense ahead of time. And if we divide the insurance expense by 12, we should not have that much of a variance.
Right, but when we did the budget, we were originally anticipating, I believe it was a 24% increase. So when we did our budget, we based our budget on our insurance increase being 24%. with some wheeling and dealing with the insurance company, we got that down to, was it just over 14%, Mike?
Right around 15%.
So we are going to see a nice savings in insurance this year.
Frank, additionally, let me just add that the board made the decision to transition the remaining HOA employees over to the First Service residential payroll on 12/31 of '24. That allowed us to not cancel, but dramatically reduce the workers' comp policy that the HOA had. Previously, it was about $32,000 annually. That's now $1,288 as a result.
That's
Just
good work.
so you know.
That's- One thing that bothers me is taxes. It seems like we're paying a lot of income taxes. This year we have an expense of $33,757, and that's in account 77210. We only budgeted $3,000, but we have an expense of 30, and maybe that's the 2024 tax return. But if I look at the prior year, we only budgeted $3,000 for this also. So it seems like we're underestimating how much we're paying in taxes. And then I would appreciate any comments on why are we paying tax? What are these taxes related to?
Diana, I can take it.
Okay.
So, real quick, the fantastic news is you had a great interest earning year last year.
Okay.
The HOA previously was not earning nearly the kind of interest you were earning in '24. And as a result, you pay tax on that interest. Unfortunately, it's income. The government looks at that as income, and they tax you for it. So that's a large portion of what it is. It was almost 80,000, I think, in interest you earned, and about 30,000 is
So
going on.
we can't find expenses to offset some of those.
I don't think they let you do that, unfortunately, no. I leave that for the accountants and the auditors to ultimately come up with. I always will ask to squeeze every possible opportunity to make the federal government do more with less. However, I'm held, and you, as a result, we're held to tax code.
Okay. The landscape contract. That was a contract, and I think we know the cost of the contract way ahead of time. So I don't understand why we get a favorable, is it a favorable, or, it's against us. It's not favorable. Unfavorable variance of about $6,000 a month. And for the 4 months, it's $24,888.
What GL specifically, which GL are you referencing? I don't.
74,190
Thank you.
landscape contract.
I'm gonna pull that account and make sure that no sprinkler repairs got put in there
But it
erroneously.
seems like it's an even amount, $6,000 per month, $6,222 per month, and it comes up to about $24,000 for the period. That's just a variance, negative variance.
I actually don't have an answer ready. I'm sorry for this one, Frank. If
Okay.
I'll get some information to Diana, certainly, and we can articulate an answer to you. I don't think
And
that's.
similar to that, also the security contract, count 72793. Seems like there's a variance year-to-date of $9,980. And again, we know the contract way ahead of time, I think. We negotiated the contract in 2024. So if we divide the contract amount by 12, we should have no variance going.
Very accurate statement. I'm going to look, I just was mentioning offline to Corey. I may have to check the GL coding. There might be other items that may have inadvertently coded to security, not contract related, which would have created that anomaly. It'd be reclass if that's the case, but I can look at that and identify exactly what it is doing that.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank
My
you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you, Frank.
Hello, Rona Tenenbaum. Do you need addresses now? No, all right. I'd like to just remind you that if we could put a robot call out near the end of the election, just want to remind people it's going to cost them money if they don't vote. This one time, so, that's, is there a list, Mike, this is kind of for you, that does show the order of homes that are going to be re-sided or re-roofed?
So, siding, no, sadly. Just, no, there's 400 and, somewhere between 420 and 450 buildings out of the 921 in here that still have aluminum siding.
What about shed?
So, oh, sorry?
The things that shed?
Oh, the cedar shakes, yeah. So I'll comment on that, sure. So in situations where the cedar shakes are deteriorating more rapidly than the aluminum siding certainly is, and some of you have observed this, put a work order in. There have been some scenarios where we are replacing the cedar shake with siding. It's not a full structure replacement, but we are going to preserve the integrity of the structure, and if the cedar shakes are starting to fall off, that is absolutely an opportunity for water infiltration. We don't want that. So we will do a limited replacement of that area specifically. I don't have, unfortunately, a better outlook on siding right now because of the other item you mentioned, which is roofing. So roofing, as Diana mentioned, there were 62 roofs approved thus far. And we've probably got about, we'll probably get to 80, between 80 and 85 before we hit our budget mark for the year. So I've got a little less than 20 or so roofs to identify. So it's priority based, meaning active leaks, or imminent leaks, meaning that there is moisture noted in about 400 or so of the structures here. A decision to re-roof them was made, and they applied a 20-year shingle on top of a 20-year-old roof, and now that's 40 years, so your 20-year shingle's failing, your 40-year subroof underneath that is rapidly deteriorating, so we're finding evidence of moisture. It's not an active leak, but it's spongy, and when we're seeing that, we consider that an active leak. So those two scenarios are what's getting the priorities on the roof list. So if there's an issue, people are reporting it to maintenance. The first thing that happens, this is important for all of you to know, especially the folks at home, there is a roof inspection that's done, that is conducted and paid for. We do not ask a roofer to inspect it and tell us if it needs a roof, because they'll always find the need for a roof. So we pay for a roof inspection to be done. We then put those identified roofs out to bid to at least 3 companies, present that to the board. The board is picking prevailing rates because, to the comment that Mr. Watson made, we have equalized the warranty. Everyone's providing 10-year labor, 40-year on the manufacturer shingle. This is a very strong warranty for the community. So really, we're able to shop price at that point, because the only way they can obtain that level of warranty from GAF, the manufacturer, is to use 4 out of the 5 products that GAF makes. It's a standard system that goes into place, very reliable for us. As a result, we're able to then go out and priority-based replace roofs. They don't have a more magical schedule or a schedule period. They come in as they come in. I would love an opportunity at some point to look this community in the face and say, here's our proactive replacement schedule. We're probably 2 years away from that on roofs.
So
I couldn't forecast it on siding.
So unless I have a visible leak coming into the house, there's probably, I can't get someone to come inspect it just because it's old.
Look, if you're concerned, let maintenance know, and someone will come out and inspect it. It may be Michael Doyle or Eric initially, if they see evidence of prior roof damming or some sort of issue that ice maybe had caused and left some damage. We will sometimes see little dips or slopes or some other kind of anomaly in the shingle that helps us to identify an issue. We'll then go into the attic space and try to identify it further. If we can't do it with our own 2 guys, then we'll task a contractor to come look at it. But please don't hesitate. I'd rather you not question it and say, I don't think it's a leak. Let us determine that. I'd much rather do that than to find out you had a leak and didn't report it out of concern. Let us identify that, please. And we would, it's probably the best way to go about it.
Okay, one other question. Have they finished going around and deciding which shrubs and if there's any dead trees, if they're coming out? Is that done already?
So we did a substantial shrub removal project last year, right at the end of the year. You will probably, if you had a work order put in, you'll probably see in the next week or two, all of those are getting cleaned up and closed. If you look and say, hey, I still have a dead shrub outside, please just re-enter the ticket. We will then, towards the end of the season, come up with another initiative to clean it up. While the HOA doesn't have any budget this year for replanting, we certainly recognize that it's very low cost to remove a dead shrub, but it does increase the aesthetics to remove dead shrubs. We would all like to replant them as much as we remove them, but it's just not tenable at this moment.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I wish all of you another year of good luck. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Paul Rosenheim, 29 Martin Van Buren. Diana, thank you for getting that information. Now, my follow-up question to that is, that's a receivable. When the cash comes in, the receivable should be reduced by the amount of cash coming in.
Correct.
And is that what the 48 or whatever the amounts were coming in against? Because going from December, January, February, March into April, the receivable was increased to $12,167 a month. If we got the money from the township, because I assume the financials are accruing for it, it's not the actual revenue, but it's being accrued. So when the actual cash comes in, the accounts receivable should be credited for that amount, as well as showing in the financials that it's the actual.
Yes.
Okay, could you
But
check
we
on
haven't
that?
we haven't gotten the checks yet.
But I mean, it's 5 months already, from December through April, that the receivable has gone up by $12,167 a month. So when that cash comes in, you should see that receivable drop.
Yeah, I have to go back and look and see which the purchase order that they just issued is for. It's possible they're paying stuff from last year as well. So we'll have to look at that, but it will reduce the receivable, yes.
Okay. Regarding the cable income, it appears that we're starting to recognize the income now. But looking at it from January, February, and March, there are 3 different numbers of what the projected income this year is for that $395, $325. In January, it looked like it was going to be $362,000 this year. March, it looked like the full $395 would be recognized. In April, it's $371. So my first question is, are we recognizing the income all in 2025, or are we recognizing it by month from April of 25 through March of 26?
We're recognizing it by month. I do have the breakdown. I may have left it on my kitchen table, I do apologize. But we are recognizing it. We did get the whole $395,000, so we have that money.
We have the cash.
We have the cash,
Right.
yes. But we do have to put in, and it's a monthly amount that
That's what's
they'll be
changed.
doing as a journal entry.
That's what's changed in the 3 months. If you look at the
Yes.
projections, it's changed. 1 month it's 43,000. In April, it's like 19,000, and then 43,000. So it appears that we don't know what we're recognizing in income on cable for this year.
No, it is all, you will see a steady amount going forward. They did do it different in January, February. We didn't have the money yet, but you will see a steady amount each and every month going forward.
Okay, because I was wondering why it was only 19,000 in April.
19,000 in April was the remaining for the 3 months for January, February, March.
So we're recognizing.
Yes,
So
we're
that wasn't
recognizing it
really
monthly.
April's.
We're
That was
rec-
the 3 past months.
Yes, we're recognizing it monthly.
Okay. Mike, at the end of last year, one of the board meetings, I'd asked the question, I made the statement about the closing fees, the 60-40 split between the association and FSR. And we did not receive any income for all of last year until December. And you make the statement that we would be getting that on a quarterly basis. There is still nothing in there as of April.
So I had asked the corporate accounting to identify where the fourth quarter of '24 was entered onto the books. Because I know this question came up during the audit. I know they had accrued for it. I need them to identify where on our books it is. Simultaneously, I put in for the first quarter of this year with the same request. I expect an answer. I'll make sure that the board has that, and we're getting it out to the community. But yes, there is revenue share in place, 60-40, as you mentioned. And it's based on the resale packages that are being purchased, so it's not a constant, as you've heard, we have a variable number for the home sales every month, right? So it's not a fixed amount, but as we feel it's a good practice to clear it quarterly. So the first quarter, we got the revenue share report, put the check request in, and then corporate accounting will pay client accounting. So our company runs two different, accounting departments. One is the accounting for first service residential, and the other is the accounting for our clients. They're completely bifurcated in our company. So corporate accounting needs to communicate to client accounting as far as where they're putting the money that goes back to the HOA.
Because it seems like FSR is getting there, getting the 100% right away, and we seem to be very late in getting our 60% of that 100%.
That's your opinion, duly noted, sir.
I mean, it's a fact. It's not.
It's an opinion. What if the contract suggested it was an annual reimbursement?
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't suggest that it's per item either.
You said last year we
Right.
would be getting it on a quarterly basis.
Yes, that was-
We're in the
that's
fourth
the
month, we
antici-
haven't gotten anything yet.
That's the anticipated practice, correct?
And then the last question, you have a new income category, maintenance repair income, which originally had 3,300 posted, and then there are 2 credits. What is that income for?
I'm not sure I'm following you. Say this again, please.
Maintenance repair income, it's,
On the income side, yes.
we've never had that, it wasn't in the original budget.
Sure, so as we're continuing to go through roof replacements, there are a number of occasions that will come up where the roofer has to replace a skylight or an attic fan, sun tube, something like that, where it's unit owner responsibility.
Right.
So there are some instances where the contractor is getting the approval to do so, and then charging back to HOA, the HOA then charges back to unit owner for that. So prior, it washes out against work that's being done and paid for by the HOA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
One quick question about shrub removal.
I'm sorry.
A quick
For the
question.
benefit of everybody, please just, into the mic. I can hear you, but the folks at home won't be able to. Thank you.
On the golf course, if there's a dead tree, who do you call?
Golf course.
Just a plain golf course.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Yep.
Charlie Tobias, 2 Wexford Drive. I basically have a question on Comcast contract that was discussed at the previous meeting. And basically, I just want to give a short synopsis before I ask my questions for those who are either not in attendance or haven't seen the replay on WHOC. And let me just state, when I refer to FSR, I'm referring to FSR Management Corporation that employs Mike as our manager of the HOA. Not Mike, I think he does a great job. So a question was asked at the last board meeting as to why FSR got 25% residual, which is $131,000 for the Comcast contract, The answer from the DOT was that Mike representing the HOA was not able to get a good deal, as all Comcast was offering was the same deal we had, they was not improved. So Mike asked FSR, Corporation of Airport, to think out of the box and see if they can get a better deal. So FSR negotiated with the unit holder, or homeowners, our HOA, getting a one-time sign-up fee of $300 per unit, of which FSR, after $131,000 and $395,000 and change went to the HOA. They negotiated a good deal, which includes TV with digital receiver box, high-speed internet, and a free modem router. Both contract must include 100% of the homeowners. We have 1,757 homeowners, which comprise the HOA. Comcast services 40 states, and FSR manages facilities all over the country. Which probably gave them negotiating power and the revenue source for FSR in the future. 13% of our unit owners, according to the last meeting, do not use Comcast Internet, which is about 228 homeowners, of which a portion may use different services, which means they're paying double for internet for whatever reason. My question, will FSR rebate $300 to unit owners who do not use Wi-Fi or internet at all? You don't need to answer that, Mike. That was just, I mean,
I don't know how to answer that question.
you know, that was just for the open mic.
The one thing I will comment on, Charlie, and I can't, as you know, I'll say it formally, I have no authority at all to answer that question on behalf of First Service Residential. But what we did make a point to note is that in the last 4 years of the community, the absorption rate, as they call it, of unit owners acquiring Comcast for their internet provider in the community grew from 82 to 87% over 4 years. So another 5%, and it continued to trend that way. It continues to trend that way. It was an absolute thought and a talking point when this was being considered, but it seemed that the overall savings for the 87 and probably soon to be 88% was a more compelling deciding factor than the folks at the 13%. And in all fairness, I did have a few people, not 220, but a few people that did say to me, thank you, because now I can afford internet. So there were some people that weren't buying it because they couldn't afford the retail price, but they can't afford the bundle price. Not my opinion, just a fact of what I've heard, that's all.
In speaking to some people here, this is your advice on how to handle it. With our contract, which went into effect April 1st, March 1st, but the services went into effect April 1st. The HOA was given 30 days to have equipment replaced at no cost to the homeowner. After that, it would be $100 or whatever the service call is. There are people here that use older equipment that can't handle gigabit service. My question to you is, are you able to arrange for Comcast to provide the necessary equipment to service those people? In other words, go back to a basic modem router so that they can have internet service.
I have no problem advocating to my rep at Xfinity, Comcast, any need that the HOA presents to me. So why I say that specifically, I've had a few people that have come to me since the April 1 rollout, and you're astute, because the agreement was supposed to begin January 1. They couldn't deliver on that. They needed 90-day ramp up. So they said, please kick it to April 1, when in fact they actually started converting people during March. So So March was a freebie. If you started getting the service in March, bravo, but they didn't start billing us until April. But to that point, some people received their April bill and they're still seeing an internet charge on there. So they come see me. They came to the last meeting. Maybe one or two of you are here now with a similar scenario, and I'll see you at the end. I go to the rep and I present the copy of the bill to them. I say, yeah, look, this is what I've got. I need this addressed. Within 24 hours time, somebody's getting back to me with, resolution. So same would be true for equipment. If there's an issue, please let us know. We're here to support the agreement and to make sure you're getting the service that you're paying for.
Well, we're paying for gigabit service, but some people can't receive that. Then the next part of that is, are you able to extend the time period for people who haven't been able to take advantage of getting new equipment installed and don't have the ability to do it themselves?
I would advocate very fiercely for them. I do not have the ability to authorize that. That's a Comcast thing. They have to approve it, but I'll hit them as hard as I have to until they relent. I don't mind doing that. It's what you pay me for. I'm here to advocate for you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
And just a reminder, Charlie, anybody living here is entitled to an X1 modem as part of this deal. So anybody with old modems can get a free modem upgrade.
I understand, but their equipment that they use is so old, as we discussed before, they can't handle the gigabit speeds. So will Comcast give them a basic modem pattern that's not gigabit speeds, which will handle their device?
But slower devices can run on the faster network. It's the opposite, it doesn't work.
Not really always.
Ellis Story, I'm at 18 John Hancock Drive. Just something that's been bothering me for a number of years. What's going on with the golf course? There's money coming back or reducing, and we haven't heard a thing about what's coming in, only what's going out. I spoke to you a couple last year, the day before, and you said, yeah, they're not giving you privy to their books. Has anything changed, or we have an attorney going after them, or anything like that?
I'll be happy to answer that. So I had a meeting actually Tuesday with the gentleman from the golf course, and he'll be coming in to see the board at the next executive session on the 17th to discuss exactly that.
Because we should come into a substantial savings or a return on our investment.
I don't know the answer to either of those comments. I do know that they should be opening up their books, showing the revenues and expenses, and there's some arrangement that's in place for them to share in that.
All right, my next one is, can someone tell me, roughly speaking, approximately how many people are in arrears or not been paying 5%, 7%, 10% of their maintenance by some chance?
I would normally tell you, I just don't have it in front of me, but you're entitled to know that. It is a very small percentage, to be very frank. I don't have the actual list in front of me.
I don't have the aging with me, so I will definitely have that answer for you at next month's meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
All right, that's it for questions. I thank you all very much for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.